How would you define a miracle? How would you describe the miraculous to someone? I think if people put in their own words, it falls into that category of out of the normal, unusual, unexpected, unbelievable, something only God could do. The reason I bring this up is yesterday I got a message from a very longtime friend, and the news was devastating. Now, she's already been in this long season of struggle, and this news pushes her into an entirely new season, but not in a way that she's moving forward blessed. And while she is trying to move forward in faith and hope, and as she messaged me, clinging to God's promise that He does work all things together for the good, it doesn't negate that it's in a context of sad, bittersweet, and so on. It's the kind of thing that would shake many people's faith, shake their confidence. And so as I was driving, I just began to pray that God would do the miraculous for her, that He would perform signs and wonders on her behalf as demonstration of His love, His care, His concern. Because see, when the Bible quite literally describes miracles as exactly that, they are signs and wonders. Throughout the entire Bible, God performs signs and wonders as demonstration of His power, His love, His care, His concern for His people, and so on. In fact, we get to the New Testament, and after Jesus is resurrected, it says that as the disciples went out, God confirmed their words with signs and wonders. He did the miraculous to confirm the truth they were sharing was the norm. In fact, it was so much the norm that early on in the book of Acts, Peter comes across this lame beggar, and he doesn't even pray. He literally reaches down, grabs hold of the guy's hand, in the name of Jesus Christ, get up and walk, and the guy is healed. Now, the sad part of the story is they go into the temple, everybody's amazed. Peter is able to declare God's truth. Now, unfortunately, the religious leaders didn't like him rocking the boat, and so issued threats. But what happened was Peter then goes back to the church and describes what God has done and tells them about the threats. But then he prays, and he prays, God, give us boldness to proclaim your word and perform signs and wonders, heal, and so on, as evidence of your power. That his boldness would come from God working on people's behalf in a visible, demonstrative way. That those signs and wonders would be both confirmation of his truth, but even encouragement for his disciple. We live in a time when we so quickly rationalize away what God does. A couple of years ago, my wife and I got one of those kind of news, that devastating thing that was beyond your ability to do anything. You don't see any way out. And so what do? You pray. But candidly, it wasn't like we were praying with boldness. Like, no, frankly, we were a little bit in shell shock, but we asked God to move. Weeks later, we got news that completely, without any effort on our part, news that completely canceled out the original news, that all that devastation was wiped out, which was amazing. But what was interesting also was how most people try to explain away in the natural how it must have happened, what must have happened, rather than embracing what God had just done. You know, when they came to the Red Sea, God told Moses, literally, quit crying to me, you raise your staff, you part the Red Sea. And when Moses raised his staff, God sent an east wind and parted the Red Sea. He tells us how he did it. But even understanding how he did it does not negate the magnitude of what he had done. The reason I'm sharing this is to challenge us that making and expecting God's miraculous, his signs and wonders, his demonstration of his care, his concern, his confirmation of his truth, making that normal. And so I want to just toss out 3 aspects of a challenge to you. Ask. Ask God. And I'm going to suggest pick a friend. Pick a friend in need and ask God not to just bless, that he would perform the miraculous. He would perform signs and wonders as demonstration of his care, his concern, and his love for that person. That we would ask. And then we would expect. That faith means we have to bring with it that expectation, not just to put it out there, okay, let's see what happens. Let's expect to hear the news of something amazing God has done. And then when we get the news, embrace it. Don't try to rationalize it away. Don't try to figure it out. Just embrace what God has done, signs and wonders, that demonstration of his care and concern, that he is making the reality of his presence known to a world around us. Let's make the miraculous normal. Not because we do anything, other than we look to the one who does. And just like with the disciples when they went out, he confirmed his word from them through his power, his signs and wonders. And a consequence it was confirmation of his truth, but it empowered, it emboldened even his disciples. So there's my challenge for us. Not just embracing the miraculous, but expecting it. And expecting it to be, like Peter, to the benefit of the world around us. That demonstration of God's care, his concern, and his love.